How's it going, everybody? We've got a few things to talk about today. Engen recently interviewed Ermes, and Ermes had a lot to say. He commented on Monster Michael Todd's chances against Vitaly Laletin and Georgi Svetkov. He also talked about his upcoming match with Levan Saganashvili, so there's plenty to dive into there. Irakli Zerkashvili has come out and said that his title match with Todd Hutchings was unfair and that the reffing might have been the reason that he lost. And lastly is Jujimufu getting back into arm wrestling. We'll get into everything in this video. Alright, first off, let's jump into the comments that Ermes Gasparini made about his upcoming match with Levan Saganashvili, and then we'll also get to his comments regarding Michael Todd's upcoming match with Vitaly Laletin. So from what I've heard about Ermes Gasparini lately, it sounds to me like he is by far the strongest he's ever been in his life, and I know that every arm wrestler says that before every match, but when it comes to the weights, and especially his riser, it sounds like he is really making leaps and bounds worth of progress. And I think this all started after he got destroyed by Devin Larratt. Devin Larratt exposed some weaknesses in his game, and I think after that match he really locked in and started training some of those weaknesses. So I think coming into this match with Levan, he will be much stronger. And he said in his interview with Engen that in his first match with Levan, his wrist went completely back and he had to get into this flop wrist press kind of break arm position. It was not pretty, and it is definitely not how you want to be arm wrestling if you don't have to. So he's been working on that, and he said that his wrist would not get completely flopped this match, and because of that he would access at least 10% more of his power than he was able to in that first match. Now, I believe if he was able to access 10% more power in that first match, he very well could have won that match. Although Levan did flash pin him several rounds, when he did get the stop, it was fairly close. And maybe I'm just saying that because he's the closest that anyone has gotten in a very long time, but I definitely think 10% more power would do the trick, and I think he could have won that match if he had access to 10% more power. 10% is a pretty big number when you're talking about the top level of a sport. So anyways, I was very happy to hear Ermes say that. Obviously, we know that Levan Saganashvili is going to come into this match probably stronger as well. Later in the interview, Engen did ask Ermes, do you believe that you're very close to your peak? How close are you? And do you believe that Levan is close to his peak? And Ermes basically said that Levan is much closer to his peak than he is. And I would also believe that is true. Levan has been at the top of the super heavyweight division for a while now, and it wasn't that long ago that Ermes was facing Matt Mask. So I do believe that the improvements that Ermes is going to be able to make coming into this match are probably going to be a little bit more significant than the improvements that Levan makes. Although if Levan has been working on his side pressure and his ability to transition to a press, this might be lights out for Ermes. So all we can do is hope for the best. Let's get into some of the comments that Ermes made about Monster Michael Todd's upcoming match with Vitaly. Now, from what I'm seeing on the internet right now, it looks like Vitaly Laletin is an overwhelming favorite. So when I first saw this match had been announced, I actually made a video and I predicted that Michael Todd would get the win. And it turns out that Ermes and I basically share the same opinion. Ermes actually went so far as to say that Vitaly Laletin has a 5% chance of flash pinning Michael Todd off the rip. Now, I don't know if I was that drastic with my prediction in my first video, but I definitely do not believe that Vitaly Laletin has the strength, has the side pressure to be able to flash pin Michael Todd off the rip. That has not happened since his comeback. I know before Kidergali Angarbayev was able to do that, but we're seeing a whole different version of Michael Todd right now. I know it's kind of a meme, monster version, 50.0, but it really is true. This new version of Michael Todd is quite impressive, and even though he lost to Ermes, I thought he did fairly well. Ermes is looking incredible right now. He's possibly number 2 in the world, so I definitely think Michael Todd is up there with the best, and I totally agree with Ermes. I don't think that Vitaly has any chance of pinning him with a side pressure surge off the go, and I also don't think that Vitaly has a chance to press him. To be honest, I don't really know what Vitaly's options are. I know he could potentially rise over the hand of of Michael like Ermes did, and it probably would be a little bit easier for him just because he does have that longer forearm. He's got a much larger hand as well, but even if he does rise over the hand of Michael Todd, I just don't see him being able to press or surge sideways to get the pin. And this was basically the sentiment that Ermes expressed during the interview. He also went on to say that Georgi Svetkov has zero chance of beating Michael Todd. So let me know what you think about that. Do you think Vitaly has any chance? Do you think Georgi would ever have a chance if they faced? What are the lanes that Vitaly would have or that he could pursue? I just don't see this one going in his favor. So let's move on to the next topic, which is Irakli Zirakashvili in denial about his title match loss. So as you all know, Todd Hutchings absolutely destroyed Irakli Zirakashvili 4-2, and the only pin that Irakli actually got on Todd was when he surprised him with a press. After that, Todd figured out the press, he was ready for it, and in regards to their first match, it was the same soup warmed over. I will say that Irakli did look a little bit better, he did look a little bit stronger. It wasn't over as quickly as it was in the first match. That might just be because this one was 4 rounds, whereas the first one was 3, but I do think that Irakli did look a little bit improved. But let's get into why Irakli is in denial about this loss. So in his interview with Engin, he basically put a challenge out there to anyone who could find a round where Todd won without elbow fouling. And I'll tell you what, I rewatched the match and I have to give it to Irakli. There were quite a few fairly egregious elbow fouls on Todd that did not get called. As far as I know, at East versus West, they do allow bobble fouls. So if your elbow comes up maybe 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 an inch, it's no big deal. As long as you keep it within the perimeter of the pad, it's fine. But Todd unfortunately did have a few fouls where his elbow came up pretty high and it didn't get called. And so I did go through the rounds and I tried to find a round where he didn't foul at all. And I do believe that in the last round when Irakli set up for a press and Todd flash pinned him, I don't think there was a foul there. And then also in round 4, that was a pretty clean round. He didn't jump off the pad after the go. There was a point where he surged sideways and his elbow kind of came off the left side of the pad maybe a little bit. He might have been on the edge, so that one's a close one. I'm not sure what to think about it. I do believe that was a fairly clean round from Todd. The real question here is, did the fouls actually affect the match in any tangible way? Irakli was saying that when Todd would lift his elbow, he would gain a significant positional advantage. And while I do agree with this, it's obviously true that when you get height over your opponent, that is an advantage. In the cleaner rounds from Todd where he didn't have any significant elbow fouls, it looked just like their first match, and it didn't look like Irakli had any more of a chance at pulling off the dub. So I know it's disappointing for Irakli. I know it's probably very annoying to watch that match back and see there were some significant elbow fouls, in my opinion, that weren't called. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe the elbow fouls can be more significant and it still isn't a big deal at East versus West. I'm not too sure, but honestly, this match looked so reminiscent of the first match that even if the elbow fouls were called, I don't think it would have affected the outcome of the match. Possibly Irakli gets another round on fouls, so maybe it would have ended up being 4-3 instead of 4-2, but regardless, I don't think he was going to win that match, and I think Todd is the rightful champ. A lot of people are calling Irakli a crybaby, saying he's making up excuses. I will admit, this is not a good look for Irakli. Anytime you lose a match, you really should just take it on the chin, move on, and just get better so that you don't have to rely on favorable judging by the refs. But at the end of the day, this actually won't work out too badly for Irakli because he is going to be facing the winner of Todd versus Rustam. So I don't know if it's official yet, but we're assuming that Todd's next title defense match will be against Rustam Babayev, and Engin has already told Irakli that he will face the winner of that match. So really, Irakli's being rewarded for losing. I don't really like this. I don't like when former champs are just given a free shot at the title right after they lost the title. And I also don't like this because we could potentially get a third match versus Todd. And to be honest, I just don't really have a whole lot of interest in seeing that match again. But what really confuses me is why are we rewarding losing? Irakli lost to Todd. He lost the title. I really think that he should have to get at least one win before he gets another shot at the title. You know, like have at least a 1-match winning streak, if not a 2-match winning streak. I guess you can't even call one match a streak, but get at least a win before you get another shot at the title. I think it's only fair to the other competitors. But anyways, let's move on. The last topic is Jujimufu filming with Monster Michael Michael Todd, is Jujimufu getting back into arm wrestling? At the time that I am recording this video, Juji has not released the video that he did with Michael Todd. I don't know if maybe Michael's also going to release a video. I hope they both do. Michael did do a live stream with Juji where they were breaking down the Ermes Segment versus Vitaly match. So I'll be interested to see what the outcome of this collaboration is. Some of you may actually remember that roughly 5 years ago, Jujimufu had a match with Mike Aiello in the WAL, and this was a pretty big deal. I think this match was single-handedly responsible for getting thousands of people into arm wrestling, and an interesting thing has kind of happened since then. At that time, Jujimufu was huge, his channel was blowing up, and arm wrestling was nowhere near as popular as it is today. But the tables have kind of flipped. I went to Jujimufu's channel and looked at his videos. The view counts are not super impressive. He's got over 1 million subscribers, and he has a lot of videos that get like anywhere from 20 to 50,000 views. Every now and then he'll have a video that gets a few 100,000. But I think if he did get back into arm wrestling, he could potentially revive his channel, and I would really love to see that. Juji is a wholesome guy, and he could bring some of his audience to arm wrestling. Arm wrestling could give him some of our audience. So I think it would be a win-win situation. Let me know if you remember Juji's legendary match with Mike Aiello. Should he return to arm wrestling? I think he should. This is where the Chads are. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.